Welcome back to the Keep the Promise podcast. This is part 2 of my conversation with Joff Fierro. In this half of the whole episode, we go deeper into some of the topics that hit hardest in Joff's previous appearances on this show. We talk about training, rookie culture, and the way we develop younger firefighters without falling into the trap of just repeating the worst parts of the generation before us. We talk about standards, we talk about fitness, we talk about crew continuity, and the difference between pushing someone to be better and humiliating them just because that's how you got brought up. Joff shares a really thoughtful perspective on what it means to coach without shame and what good leadership actually looks like when you're trying to build people instead of break them down. And then the conversation takes a turn that I think more of us in the fire service need to hear. We get into identity, hobbies, mental health, and why firefighters need lives outside the firehouse. From Magic the Gathering, to travel, to therapy, this part is really about the human side of the job, the side that keeps us grounded, healthy, and whole. So without further ado, part 2 of my conversation with Joff Fierro.
Welcome to the Keep the Promise podcast, where we help build resilient and well-rounded firefighters.
There's good, hard-working men and women out there that just want to do the job and go home and do it well. And then there's everybody else.
All right, so we're kind of talking about the culture of the fire service, and that's one of the questions that I had here as it relates to fitness. You've been around for a bit now. You're up there in that seniority. Mm-hmm. You're not Mr., salty 26-year guy, but you've been around the block a time or 50 type thing. From your perspective, what have you seen in terms of the evolution of firefighter fitness? Has it gotten better? Are we still stuck in the same old routines? Are we on a downward spiral? Where are we sitting there?
That's a tough one, man. I had a lot more insight on this when I was out there roving, when we talked last. And roving is, what do you guys call it, rovers?
Floats.
Floating.
Because you float from one station to the other. Well, I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Somebody in Louisiana is probably going to come and be like, that's not what we fucking call it. It's like, okay, well, we call ours rookies. You guys call them booters. And call them probationers. So you basically did not have a home. You were homeless.
Yeah. I was getting sent to good stations. And every once in a while I was getting sent to slow stations, which were still good because there's people at slow stations that wanted to work and there's people that didn't. But for the most part, I was getting sent to good stations with guys that wanted to work, that wanted to train, wanted to build that camaraderie, eat good food, on good calls, sleep at night, hopefully. And you see it a lot out there. And then when you get to a spot, you don't have your finger on the pulse of the city as much as you used to. So when like one of our guys is out, we'll get a rover for the day, like a backseat BLS guy or a medic. And generally it's, hey man, like it's all the same questions. How's mama? How are the kids? Where you been? Where they been spending you? Like, getting any good fires lately? The exact same questions. And it's always funny, but like, getting some of these younger guys that come through here, and by younger, I mean like a couple of years on the job. These are full grown men and women. It's always interesting to see, like when you get an older ALS captain on the job that's been on for 20 years and wants to come in and, hey, you guys doing a skills course today? You guys getting in turnouts and training? And we're like, fuck yeah, dude. And he's like, let's get it. And then you get like that guy who's doing his best 3 years who, he's working a lot. And they kind of come in and they're like, dude, I'm licking them right now. And I'm at 40%. I got 40% today. And we're like, we got you, brother. Like, as long as you got a good attitude, you want to run calls and you work hard on a fire, we'll take care of you. That's how it should be. Right. And then you got guys that come in and are just kind of mope around the station sometimes. And this is few and far between, I should say. We haven't had issues like this often, which I love. But every once in a while, dude, there's one of those people that just kind of doesn't get it. And you kind of ask a couple questions and they don't have the right answers. And you're like, all right, well, okay, have fun. See you in another year, though, maybe. But dude, we went down to the academy the other day on a Sunday to train, do an academy skills course, which, depending on who you ask, is a harder skills course or an easier skills course, depending on what station you go to. Because some stations around Phoenix have very hard skills courses comparatively to the academy skills course, which is cut and dry, same thing every time. And we got a guy that roved in, and he wasn't having the best morning, but he's the newer guy on the job, younger guy on the job. And I'm like, hey man, like, take your coat off, take your bottle off, like, keep your bunkers on, keep your helmet on and your gloves. Like, let's keep working until you can. And it got a little bit farther into it. And he's like, dude, and you know how it is. Like, I did the same thing. Sorry guys, I didn't sleep good last night. I didn't eat well this morning. And excuses are like assholes, right? Everybody's got one. No one wants to see it. And so he gets to the point where he's like, I'm hurting. I'm like, all right. Captain and I tell him to go sit down over in the corner, over in the shade, drink some water. We'll catch up after we're done. And as we're finishing, he starts walking up, and I walk up to him and I go, hey man, when the skipper asks you what happened, don't fucking make an excuse. I don't care that you didn't eat well this morning. I don't care that you didn't sleep well last night. You show up for you in the morning and you show up for us. That is how that works. Nobody wants to hear why you weren't ready to do this today. And I'm sorry those things happened, but you're here for 24 hours, dude. We need you to work. You're the youngest guy on the job. You're going to be working your butt into the ground on a fire. Like, that's just how it is. So when he asks you, don't make an excuse. You just look him in the eye. You say, sir, I'm sorry. It won't happen again. And I will try harder next time I'm at your station. And thanks for having me. And he said, oh, absolutely, dude. I'm so sorry. I'm like, don't apologize. It fucking happens. It's happened to all of us. For me to sit there and be like, oh, dude, this fucking guy, come on, and act like it's never happened to every single person on this truck is an asinine thing to say or act like, you know what I mean? Like, if he keeps coming back and it keeps happening and you're like, hey man, like, what's the deal? Then it's an issue. But until then, dude, bite the bullet, take your licks, let's go work. Come on.
Real quick before we jump back in. Firefighters don't leave each other behind. We look out for our own. Right now, there's a firefighter out there, maybe a rookie, maybe a seasoned veteran, who needs this podcast. They need the lessons, the mindset, and the training tips. But they'll never get them unless you help them. Here's how you can help right now. On Apple Podcasts, tap the 5 stars, then scroll down and write just a few words about what the show has done for you. On Spotify, tap the 3 dots, select Rate Show, and drop your rating. It takes less than 60 seconds, it costs you nothing, and it helps one more firefighter get better, stronger, and more prepared. We look out for each other. This is one small way that you can pay it forward. All right, back to the show. That leads into the next question that I had, because we've talked a lot about shame as a motivator, quote unquote, and basically how it doesn't work. So given that story and everything else that you've experienced, everything that you've done in your career, and especially as a CrossFit coach, what have you learned? What are the best ways to motivate people without shaming them? We think that if I come to you and I say, you suck, you're a shitbag, you need to work harder, by crushing you, somehow miraculously, you're going to want to stand up taller and prove me wrong. In reality, that doesn't work because I just crushed you and you're probably like, fuck this guy. I don't want to talk to him ever again. So,
Yeah.
Tell me, let's coach somebody without humiliating them. How do we go about that?
So to go back to that story, the skills course that we did was advanced, right? It was hard and it was warm out that day. And
What does that entail?
So there's an event in a skills course, right? An event is something that you do. So like dragging a tire, and raising a ladder, doing a pike pole prop, cutting lines with a pike pole prop, doing an attic crawl, going upstairs. So each one of those things is an event, and that you pretty much just go from event to event. What we did that day was we dragged the tire to each event. So you drag the tire to the stairs, you go up the stairs. You drag the tire over to the pipe hole prop, you do the pipe hole prop. It starts to wear on you pretty quick. So it was a harder skills course. That is not normal. It's something that you should be able to do, but it's advanced, right? So for a guy who revs around, who goes to stations that either train or don't, and has a level of inconsistency there, to jump right into that is a little more challenging, right? Now, should you be able to do that? Absolutely. Do I expect you to perform at the level that we do because we do this as often as we do? Yes and no. Now, do I think that people should be pushed to excel in this level of fitness while wearing turnouts? Absolutely. You should be able to find, I don't necessarily think this has to happen on the job, but you do have to figure it out at some point. I don't know who's taking their turnouts home to figure this out off the job, but you have to figure out where your threshold is and how you can get past that so that your threshold goes up and then you continue to get better, right? You have to do that through rigorous, really sucky training sometimes. So if it's a new person on the truck, we are going to push you. We are going to make you work till you don't want to anymore, simply because you have to excel to that level that we put ourselves at, right? Like we have pride at our stations for being physically fit and exceeding on fires and being good firemen and treating people right. And if you're not meeting that standard, we're going to help you get there. Now, if you fail a couple times, I don't think you should be berated for that. Like I said, every single person on that truck has been in that guy's shoes, right? Everybody's been there. Have I gotten an earful before from, dragging a little bit of ass on the fire ground or in a skills course? Absolutely. But you know what the one thing is people hate, unless you're into this, which would be weird, is getting yelled at. And I don't mean like yelling. I mean being sternly talked to that your level is not meeting the standard, which I know how we love that word. And that's a conversation that needs to be had, but you need to learn from those things. It doesn't need to be, hey man, you suck. Like, figure it the fuck out. And it's some people, that's their way of like getting people to do better. But like I like my way better. You know what I mean? Hey man, we don't want to hear excuses. Just do better next time. That's all. Okay. Show up for us, show up for you. Now, if I walked up to that guy and was like, hey man, you suck. Like, are you kidding me? Like you didn't want to do this morning. You just decided not to show up to work today, like ready to go. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Do you think that guy's ever going to want to come back to my station and work with us? No, absolutely not. And I want people to come work with us. I want good people to come want to work here, as does everybody else on the department. So I guess to answer the question is, no, I don't think berating and belittling people is the way to go about it. But at some point, if you're not meeting the standard, a conversation has to be had as to why and how you can fix it. And if it's not a fixable thing, then I think that conversation has to be had. And those are not fun conversations.
I just lost my entire train of thought.
Sorry.
No, that was very well put. It was very well. Let me write a note so I can go back and edit this part out. Because you literally covered everything that I wanted to ask about treating rookies and humiliating people. You've always been super outspoken about not eating our young and not treating our rookies like shit. And you pissed off a lot of people the first conversation that we had when you basically said the booter is the most tired, the busiest guy or gal on our shift, and that person should be eating first and should not be staying up late doing menial chores. And dude, like we mentioned, the internet just exploded and people were talking about how they got treated like shit and therefore everybody had to do it. And so given that, put yourself in the role of a company officer, which I guess for you, that first step would be a captain, correct?
Yeah. Lieutenant,
Because I know,
I believe.
do you guys have lieutenants or?
No, we have captains. Captains, engineers,
That's what I'm saying.
in the backseat.
Yeah, because for us, it was you have the first step as a company officer was lieutenant. Anyway, like put yourself in that first line officer situation. If you want to develop your rookies better, if you want to make them better firefighters in the time that they're with you, what are your top 3 to 5 things that you can start doing with them immediately to develop them into better people?
I think the top 3 easy ones are training, making sure they're proficient in their skills so that when it comes to it, they can fall back on it. Crew continuity would be a close second, if not the first, because if you can't have a tight crew, you can't have that cohesion. And just to, I don't know, kind of bullshit on this one real quick. You have guys and girls that rove in, and they just fit in instantly, right? So it's one of those things. Like, you know when somebody doesn't fit in. They don't talk. They hang out in their room all day. That stuff. We want to teach the newer generation that this is the culture. We want that crew continuity needs to be there. We have to have cohesion. We have to have camaraderie. If we don't have that, we don't have a department. The best part of coming to work is showing up and hanging out with my best friends all day long. That's it. That's what I get to do. This isn't a job, dude. You know what I mean? It's a career. A career of hanging out with your buds all day long, fighting fires, picking up meemaws, doing something hard every once in a while. But other than that, dude, you show up for 24 hours and go home. And you should be able to teach this younger generation that. And third, which, I think these kind of all align together, is fitness. Your physical fitness heavily depends on your level of training, or your level of training heavily depends on your level of fitness, I should say. And it also plays into continuity as well. Like, because if you're not out there working out with us and training with us and sweating and putting in that equity, what are you doing? What, like I said, man, when we have guys and girls that show up and they're like, man, I'm at 50% today. Cool, brother. We'll take care of you. We get it. But it can't be every shift. You know what I mean? It absolutely cannot be every shift. There has to be some give and take there. So when you got a younger guy, they either show up and they're a fucking stud or somewhere in between. And it's our job to train them to turn into a stud, because they're on probation for 9 months. And after that, dude, welcome to the Shark Tank. Those are my 3.
I love it, especially having fitness as that pillar that supports everything else. Because, yeah, without it, you don't have the endurance to carry out those skills. And love it or hate it, people are going to look at you and be like, that's going to be the first person to say, I can't, which is a death sentence in the fire service.
100%.
We are getting to the part that I am the most excited about. Because firefighters, we tend to make the job our entire identity. I'm talking department t-shirts from all other departments, and you go buff out when you visit different places, and you just hang out with your boys and you talk about fire stories, and you see the ladder truck rolling down the street and you jump out there screaming, "Go get him, brothers."
Rocket rock.
And I want to talk about challenging that notion that we have to make it our whole identity, because as I alluded to in the beginning, you partake in some hobbies that are diametrically opposed of what a firefighter normally does, right? You expect, I remember it was almost like a rite of passage. Like the guys that I graduated the academy with, they would do a handful of things within the first year. One, they'd buy an engagement ring for the girl that they've been dating for a couple months. Two, they would buy an expensive ass truck. And the next, fork in the road, like Frost would say, they either got into lawn care or hunting or fishing or smoking meats.
Pretty much it.
Well, not for you, my friend, because you got into nerd shit. Tell me about Magic the Gathering.
I've been into nerd shit.
How did it become your thing?
It's that ADHD brain, it's just funny. I think my wife gets so fucking fed up with me. She's just like, can we not find another niche hobby that you focus on for another 2 years? Hopefully this one lasts. I think it will, because I really enjoy this game a lot.
Didn't you remodel your garage or something?
Well, we built a studio to stream Magic the Gathering in my buddy's garage. We went
Okay, so it's not your place.
0 to 100. There's no way we're going to build that in my house. My wife would have had a fucking heyday with that one. Are you serious? Absolutely not. Go build it outside. He's like, go to a card shop or something. Dude. Okay. So back in I think 2001, 2002, my cousin taught me how to play Magic the Gathering. He started getting into it when it got really big. I think it started around 1993. And then all things started picking up. But he taught me how to play. And back then so there's a bunch of different formats, right? There's Commander, there's Standard, there's Pre-Modern, there's Pauper, there's there's a bunch of different formats. The biggest one right now is Commander, and then I think Standard, depending on who you ask. But Commander is a 100 card format, and I actually have one right here. You have one card, and your deck is based around this card. Basically, you have a mana base that says these are the kinds of cards that you can play in this deck. So this one would be swamps, forests, and islands, and then there's one generic on top of that. So the only kinds of cards that can go in my deck are swamp cards, forest cards, and islands, right? And so you all start with 40 life, and you draw 7 cards, and then you play lands, and that's basically your currency to be able to cast spells and creatures. And then from there, you attack people, you cast spells that take cards away or bring cards back, or this, that, and the other thing. There is a multitude of different mechanics and crazy shit that goes into this game. And my favorite part about it, with a lot of things that I find hobbies in, is that I can customize it specifically to the way that I want it. To a very finite T. I'm like, oh, this is the goofiest, weirdest looking card I've ever seen. I need to put this in my deck. It might not work very well, but it's funny because I think it's It reminds me of a meme or something. I don't know. Shit like that. But you win games and you lose games. You generally play in pods of 4. And then, so like, you're not just attacking one person the entire time. With standard, it's just 2 people fighting each other with a 60 card deck. So everything, depending on your, what format you're playing, the card value, the card quantity can lessen or grow. But yeah, dude, there is a huge fandom around it. And then I think like 2 years ago, my buddy Chris got into it at work while on the job because he worked with how he describes the nerd of nerds. He's a civilian medic on one of their rescues, and he's like, my brother in Christ, this guy has a door in his library that opens to Elvish. And I don't know if you know what that means. He speaks to it in a fake made-up language from Lord of the Rings, and the door opens.
Yeah, that's pretty nerdy.
Top tier nerdum. I think it's rad. I think that's fucking cool as shit. I don't know how the hell you figured that out. But he's like, dude, I started playing Magic, and I was like, oh, I used to play Magic. Let's play Magic. Oh. So, just like bunch of fucking knuckle draggers, dude. So I'm like, dude, I'll start getting a deck. I'll get my deck together. Started buying cards and playing. And then because I started doing that on Instagram, I started finding like Magic the Gathering pages. And I was like, I got in touch with a good buddy that runs a very well-known page. He's one of the top creators in the format right now. And he was like, dude, just do it. I've seen your videos. Like just make a page. And I was like, nah, dude, I got like 3 other pages that I'm figuring out right now. Like, he's like, just do it. And I was like, all right, fuck it. Why not? And then so I started doing it. My wife's like, another page. I'm like, yeah, sorry. But dude, it has been a blast. And I come into work, it doesn't really matter what you do on this job. If it's goofy to somebody else, you are going to get grilled for it. Grilled with a capital G, dude. And it's usually out of love. If it's not out of love, you can tell pretty quickly. And then you're just like, fuck that guy. He's weird. Dude, I love it. The community is a lot of fun. It's like any other community. You got a lot of naysayers, but then you got a really good gathering, no pun intended, of people that, dude, they just want to get together with their friends and play some games and hang out. And the saying goes, it's not about the magic, it's about the gathering. It's like this goofy, corny saying. The magic is the gathering, right? Hanging out with your friends, talking shit, playing cards. It's like getting together with the boys on Friday and playing poker, right? Same thing, only I've got Kaval, the balanced scale, and he's a dragon, and he's a 4/4, and he does zombie recursion. You know what I mean? It's a little different.
Not at all. I have no idea what you mean, and that's one of the most fascinating things is I'll try to ingest the stuff that you put out there, and I'm like, okay, I need to learn a new language, and there are rules, and then you put the cards down, and then you flip them 90 degrees, and then at some point somebody's about to throw hands and counterspell hands, and I just, every time that I ask you, I'm like, did you win? You're like, no. I fucking got pummeled, bro. But it sounds fascinating, and I'm not like, I don't understand it, and I know myself, and I know my mind operates the same way as you do. That if I start researching into it and figuring out the different connections, I'm going to end up like fucking Charlie in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That meme we've all seen, like bloodshot eyes with a cork board, with the red string, and everything makes sense. And my family and loved ones are going to be looking at me like, what the fuck happened to you? I'm like, new obsession. So that's out of health. I'm like, nope. I'm barely kicking leatherwork out of the picture. I don't need another new obsession. But it's fascinating, and it's crazy. Just because the way you described it, it makes sense. But I know when I look at your videos, I'm going to be like, fuck, this is not as simple. Where do you find the rules? Like, does somebody like the magic gatherer come up with them and everybody listens? Or is it one of those things like when you used to play board games growing up that your group of friends had their own rules, and if you talk to somebody else down the street, they had totally different rules? Like, what the fuck? How do you learn? Where do you start?
It's literally taught to you, dude. And it depends. Hopefully, the right person is teaching you, because if you learn the wrong way, it takes a minute to learn the right way. Like, when I got into it, I found a couple of my friends that were like, yo, did you start playing Magic the Gathering? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, dude, we play Magic the Gathering. I was like, no way. So I'd go play with them. And dude, you have some people that are just idiot savants when it comes to stuff like this. Like, they're like, oh, rule C3 2.48 F5 states that sorceries can only be cast at this speed. And you're like, oh, okay. No, that makes sense. I was playing that all wrong. And then every once in a while, you'll correct somebody and vice versa. And you just kind of figure it out as you go. Like, you have to have a basic understanding of like how things work. But there's a guy that his entire page is the rule basis on how like certain very like not niche or very niche rules work. It's kind of an all-encompassing thing, and he talks to himself kind of like I do in my videos, and he's like, oh, I'm going to play this card. He goes, you actually can't do that because CR 1034 says you can do this at this speed and this type and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it's a very, very useful page, because you're like, oh, I didn't know that. And then this new rule is unlocked, and then your brain goes, well, I can do that in one of my decks. And that's going to screw everybody up. That's going to be so much fun.
Let's go back to how this all ties into the fire service. Why do you think we sometimes struggle to have hobbies that are not directly related to the job? Speaking from experience, because, right, what was my hobby? I'm going to do leather work so I can make helmet shields and radio straps, right? I didn't start trying to make wallets or something unrelated. I'm like, cool, shields, radio straps, keep the promise. It started as like, let's have a firefighter podcast and let's talk about firefighter fitness. Why is it so hard to us to avoid, to like pull away from that almost magnetic field and find other unrelated shit?
This job will, as much as it gives us benefits, pay, awesome work schedule, brotherhood, fitness, it also takes more, right? Our sleep, our time, our energy, cancer, mental health, PTSD, all of it. It takes and it takes and it takes. And then the department asks for more. And it's because they need us. You know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't ask if they didn't need it. It's like, hey guys, we're hurting. We need people to work today. Please sign up to work. And guys do, because they like that check, or they're trying to buy a new car, or they just want to work some overtime. Get away from the family for a little bit. We've all done it. That's how it works. You know what I mean? I'd be lying if we said we didn't. But one of the biggest things about this job is that if you don't have hobbies outside of it, you are going to drive yourself fucking crazy. And like with Fire Athlete wasn't a hobby outside of the job. It was a hobby inside the job, if that makes sense. So everything that went into Fire Athlete was something that had to do with firefighting or fitness. And then I'd go back to my 24-hour shift and I'd do firefighting and fitness. And then I'd go off for my 2 days and do more Fire Athlete shit. And then my other pages. So, like, traveling. I live in a place, and depending on how you want to help people look at this, I live in a very good place of privilege. My wife and I are able to travel, and that is something that we heavily enjoy doing. So we're going to do that. I have the ability to go out and find niche hobbies like Magic the Gathering or skateboarding or what else have I gotten into in the last fucking 5 years? I can afford High Rocks. You know what I mean? High Rocks isn't cheap. And it's kind of weird because the department and my work schedule allows me to do these things, right? I have 48 hours off, and then I have to go back to work for an entire day away from my family and my friends, my dogs, and all of my hobbies to focus on work. And then I'm off and I get to focus on things away from the job, which is what we should all be doing. Everybody should have hobbies away from this job. It is so vital to your mental health. And it's sad because a lot of the guys on the job know the guys that don't have hobbies outside of the job. They're workhorses. This job, once they leave, we all wonder, what is that guy going to do with the rest of his life when he retires? And dude, that fucking breaks my heart because they've given their heart and soul and so much more to this, like the fire service, that when they leave, it's like, now what? Like, I'm not at the station anymore. I don't have to show up every third day. I get to sit here with my pension and do what with it? I didn't build anything outside of the fire service until now. And it's like, yeah, you can go traveling. You can buy that $60,000 truck that's now $100,000 because of inflation. You can buy a boat. You can get a dog, go move to Alaska, and and those all sound like things, but they're not hobbies. You know what I mean? They're possessions. And there's the, depending on who you, like, it's not really depending on who you ask. There's a very macho mentality in the fire service where, like, it's fishing, it's hunting, it's shooting, it's going to the bars and two-stepping and yeehaw, all that fun stuff, which is great. Those are hobbies, right? But like when you deviate from that timeline and you go, the guys go, hey, what are you into? I'm like, anime, Magic the Gathering. I like conventions, and sometimes I do fitness races. And they're like, what is this thing? Who is this? How did you get in here? You know what I mean? It's like, it throws people off, but people are either like, that's dumb, I don't want to hear about that. Or people are like, tell me more about that. Like, what is that? Like, I'm very, very curious to hear about this. Like, is this something that I could potentially be interested in? Like, is this a hobby that I want to inherit? Which is how most firefighters get into hunting or fishing, right? They either started it with their dads or moms, or they got on the job and some guy was like, yo, do you want to come hunting with us? We're going to go camping and we're going to go shoot a buck. You know what I mean? We're going to go fish for trout, bass. And like that is a hobby outside of the job. It's what we talk about in our interviews. It's what we should be living. And it's what we should be doing so that we have time away from all of this.
What does it do for your head being able to step into a literal world that has nothing to do with fires and picking up mimas and fire engines and anything in the fire service?
That's an interesting question because, yes, it kind of silences the noise for a time, right? But even then, you can have the best quality of life outside of the department with your hobbies and the things that you do and your lifestyle, and your brain can still be fucked up, right? You can still be suffering from PTSD and those dark thoughts. So even if I'm having a great time with my buddies, hanging out, not playing Magic the Gathering, if I have experienced things that fuck with my chemical basis and my PTSD and my mindset, those are going to affect me, right? And to be able to have hobbies that take my mind off of that is great, but I do, like I think we've talked about in past podcasts, heavily emphasize on therapy and getting right in that aspect. Because no amount of Magic the Gathering is going to take away the things that I have seen and heard, right? That's great. It's fun. I have a good time. It's not fixing anything. It's just a distraction. And you can go like people say, I've heard lots of people like, I'm just trying to placate on everybody's hobbies, right? Like mine is not better than somebody else's. Like I'm not into hunting and fishing. That's great. Somebody who's into hunting and fishing goes out into the forest and, they get that quiet, they get that peace for a while, but like those thoughts are still there. They know their way. Yeah, it's calm. It's nice. There's not a lot of noise, but it's still there. Like it's not running. It's kind of just pushing away for a time. But dude, like you gotta go. You gotta talk about it. You gotta do whatever it is that you find as therapeutic, and you have to let it help you. Whether that's a therapist or ketamine or going into the forest for 5 days.
Yeah, you can't counterspell the PTSD.
No, you cannot. And if you could,
boom, nailed it,
dude. That was the best.
I'm ready to take on you and your fellow Magic the Gathering nerds.
Oh, bring it.
I like the way this conversation has gone because we've touched on a lot of things that are not traditional fire service stuff. And you come from a department that is seen as a traditional, right? It's one of the big ones. It's one of the big city departments that people look at. I mean, you guys have a lot of important names that have come out of Phoenix. So I love being able to explore that aspect of that more human aspect of a firefighter beyond the calls, beyond the rigs, beyond going to fires and doing cool fireman shit. So it's fitting that we end with an interesting question, one that's going to make you think, because every single time that I try to hit you with like the last question, can really reuse it. If the fire service disappeared tomorrow, who is Joff besides a firefighter?
Joff is just a guy that likes to find new things, that is just consistently interested in life. I tell everything. That's kind of the thing, man. Like, if it went away tomorrow, I'd go find another blue collar job. You know what I mean? Something that would be able to help me maintain my lifestyle, hopefully, and work with my hands and not be at a desk, because I have been at a desk before. And like I tell every single person, I worked at a desk for a year and a half of my life to help me get through EMT school. And brother, I will never do that again. Ever. And that is not to knock anybody that does that, because my wife is able to excel so heavily as many others are in that field. And more fucking power to you, dude. If you can do that and not want to blow your head off, sorry, I know it's dark, then I give you kudos. I have to be doing something else. I have to be standing and working and picking up mimas. That's just who I am. That's how my brain works. But dude, I would just be somebody who wants to go find the next thing. That's it. The next shiny object. This is interesting. This looks like it's fun. I could do this. Cool.
Brother, thank you so much for coming back. I always love picking your brain, and given your propensity for finding new shiny objects, I feel that every time we chat is an entirely different approach, that we take an entirely new world to explore. So I'm really thankful for your ADHD, and in all seriousness, the excitement with which you talk about the stuff that you do, because it's palpable. And I'm hoping that the people who listen realize and understand that it's okay to be quirky and nerdy and to like the things that you like, because it's what makes you who you are, and that's what makes you an important part of your crew and a key part of your family and your loved ones. So keep on doing your stuff and keep on rocking at it. Joff, thank you so much for being here.
I love coming on this podcast and talking with you about this stuff. If I could touch on that really quick.
Of course.
Diversity is what makes the department great. Everybody has a different background or a different lifestyle, and that's how we are able to take care of our patients and our customers as well as we do. And it's how we're able to take care of each other as well as we do. I have had people in my DMs send me messages over the Magic the Gathering page, firefighters, that, because I've mentioned on the page that, this is what I do. I'm a first responder. And I've had firefighters come to me and be like, you play Magic the Gathering? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I play Magic the Gathering, and like, I do not know how to break to my crew. I don't know how to talk about it. What do I do? Or like, they just kind of look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, hey man, my biggest piece of advice to anybody that plays it or wants to play it or try something new, there doesn't have to be Magic the Gathering. Fuck what everybody else thinks, dude. Like, if it's not hurting anyone and you find enjoyment in it, fuck everybody else. I do not give a shit. I like literally, like, if somebody wants to make you feel bad about something that you thoroughly enjoy, that person's not worth being around. And if you have to work with that person, I'm sorry. That one you got to figure out. But like, to all my firefighters, brothers and sisters out there, if they get to hear this, like, fuck them. Like, that's it. But again, dude, thank you so much for having me on the podcast.